Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. It's sadly predictable at this point, no matter what horrific crisis is going on, right?
Yeah, that they were going to come up with some way to blame Biden, blame Democrats. And the money thing, the what was it, $6 or $8 billion?
$6 billion. Not a cent has been spent yet.
Not a cent has been spent yet, and I mean, it was being held in the bank. I don't know if it was Qatar or South Korea. I'd heard Qatar. South Korea.
I think Qatar. Yeah.
Either way, but the only reason and then it was being held because they didn't want to they weren't releasing it because they didn't want to run afoul of U.S.
It's being closely. It's been closely monitored by
the Trump administration was trying to figure out a way to allow it to be spent on humanitarian stuff. I mean, it's not like, this could have been a done deal under Trump. I mean, they were trying to get them the money too.
Yes.
So it's like facts just don't matter. And the fact that money can only be used for food and medicine and things like that.
Yeah. And the mainstream media route is it's fundamentally broken. I'm sorry, Kristen Welker is no better than Chuck Todd. She let Matt Gaetz get away with like a string of talking points about how great everything was under Trump and how horrible it is under Biden economically. Things that are so easily disproved, but then, like I say, this talking point about the Iranian money and funds are fungible and they knew this money was going to cut. It's just crap. They know no American taxpayer money funded this attack. I mean, you retweeted, Rick Scott said Joe Biden funded this attack when he bowed to Iran and gave $6 billion to this evil regime that starts every day plotting to destroy Israel. While Biden is silent, his appeasement of Iran, blah, blah, blah. And you just said, as I was saying, Andrew Bates said this is a shameful lie in every respect at a time when both parties should be totally united in supporting Israel's defense. Not a cent has been spent. They won't go to the Iranian government. They can only be used for verifiable purchases of humanitarian needs like food and medicine. He said the shameful lie started almost immediately. The attacks in Israel are horrific enough without using them to lie about our own president. Mm-hmm. But of course, it's so sadly expected now, isn't it?
Yeah. And the other thing that I think is interesting is something else that I said on Threads,
because you drunkenly locked yourself out of Twitter, and you know what? Whatever you need to break your addictions, go ahead.
Exactly. but something else I said was, ask all of these politicians that are blaming Biden when you're sitting there interviewing them and they're blaming Biden. Yeah. Say, okay, do you blame Benjamin Netanyahu?
Yeah. Do you blame Hamas?
As you were talking about the first part of the show, the Israeli people sure as hell do.
Yeah. I mean, they're saying it out loud. Ronna McDaniel actually said this is a great opportunity for Republicans. This attack in Israel. Did you hear that come out of your own mouth?
Monstrous.
It is. I mean, Go ahead.
Sorry. I mean, that's up there. That's up there with I now have the tallest building in New York City.
Ghouls. Yeah.
She said, it's the glass is half full with blood.
She said, I think this is a great opportunity for our candidates to contrast where Republicans have stood with Israel time and time again, and Joe Biden has been weak. And when America's weak, the world's left safe. We're seeing this not just with the war in Ukraine, with an emboldened China, but now with an attack on Israel. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. This is for the party where they've got a segment that does not want to, that just broke the government over not helping Ukraine. Right? Yeah. I mean, it's. By the way, you also, speaking of intelligence, you said the nuclear subs thing is why Trump needs to have the classified documents trial before the 2024 election. What's he going to do if he's back there and has access to everything again? Jesus, it's like locking a horny teenage boy in the Fleshlight factory. Your particular brand of rudeness was the salve I needed this weekend.
Oh, thank you. Maybe that's just my fantasy, but.
Yeah, but it's just the what ifs will make our head explode. You said, seriously, if Barack Obama had told some rich rando nuclear secrets, Republicans would be burning down D.C. to have him arrested. And, Rude, again, you never know, what shoe's going to drop next. What can they prove conclusively? But it's not check the New York Times about Trump sharing Israeli intelligence with Russians in the Oval Office and how concerned Israel was that they were going to give it to Iran, which I'm sure they did.
Yeah. I mean, that's That's the other thing is like, and you know what? If that came out, you know what the reaction would be? Would be like, well, who did Biden's dog bite?
Right.
What kind of shoes is he wearing?
So Trump, essentially gave them the intelligence that allowed this massacre to happen, and it would be like, oh well, that's just Trump. We knew that he was that corrupt. What will he do if he becomes president again?
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, we've been talking about just, so we have no Speaker of the House, can't do any funding if we wanted to right this second. We have no ambassador to Israel, our military, because the Tupper vote. I mean, it's just on and on. And I loved your piece. We're all just watching the wheels fall off the GOP clown car. And, it's interesting because you write about how there is humor and, just like hilarity and laughing at how, except that when stuff like this happens, then you're like, oh, this kind of like, this is when the, sad, scary clown becomes even scarier, right?
Yeah. No, it's when the thing about a clown car crashing is it's going to leave clown guts all over the road, and somebody's got to clean up the guts after, and it's always Democrats that have to come out there with the brooms and the hoses and get the road open again.
By the way, kids, it's very graphic, this week's Rude Pundit.
Yes.
If you don't want, you said watching the wheels come off the clown car has its charms, teetering as it does on that tightrope between hilarious and terrifying. It's hilarious because, come on, it's a bunch of clowns, and you're watching those painted dopes as they get flung around like a dog toy in the teeth of a particularly enthusiastic pit bull, screaming, clawing at each other as they try to position themselves not to fling out of the car as it flips over and over, wondering why the hell so many of them shoved their way into the vehicle in the first place. Of course, screaming clowns are terrifying in and of themselves, but you kind of feel like they deserve it. They're clowns. But then you talk about the carnage, as you said, when the crash finally comes. And you're right. Yeah. It is every single time Democrats have to clean up their mess.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing right now. That's what we're seeing right now with not having a Speaker of the House when we need to get funding to Israel, when the war is still going on in Ukraine. That this is this is literal carnage that is being enabled by these clowns just clowning around.
Yeah, you said it is amusing as to watch it happen. It would be a lot more fun if it wasn't a damn threat to all of us not inside the information vacuum MAGA freaks exist in. It's impossible to ignore growing violence and threats of violence from that aforementioned cult, and a leading candidate for president encouraging them to be ready to enjoy nonstop vengeance against their perceived enemies if he gets back in office, maybe to be ready to commit the violence if he doesn't. Meanwhile, the allegedly normal news media seems to give more of about who Joe Biden's dog bit than that the former president keeps saying shoplifters should be executed without a trial. I mean, or this latest story. I don't, did you see anywhere them talking about the story about sharing Israeli intelligence with Russians in the Oval Office? And no. Wonder if that could have any connection.
Yeah, and again, or all of a sudden we're hearing that the nuclear secrets thing, the nuclear sub stuff to just this Australian business. What else did he tell people? What else did he show people?
Yeah.
He had the documents just hanging out in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
Did he give them away? Like, here, take this. This is a little souvenir.
Yeah. Because you're a liberal helper, though, you're always solution-oriented, I find that. You always want a happy ending. Anyway, my point is, you said maybe there's another possibility, especially for the 18 Republicans in districts that Biden won. Join the cleanup crew. Go independent and caucus with Democrats, or just outright switch parties. It would take just a few to switch control of the House of Representatives. Say you did it because you want to get done and you're tired of working with people who ought to be institutionalized. You're sick of Marjorie Taylor Greene's protein drink farts and Jim Jordan's flop sweat smell on his polyester shirts. Who can blame you? Otherwise, you're stuck with the screaming clowns until at least January 2025. I mean, I don't know how possible that is, but how many national, international crises are we going to endure, right? Made worse exponentially by their chaos.
I mean, and how, and the leader of their party out there just saying the most outrageous lies. What was the abortion one this weekend? The abortion one so they've gone from that you can have abortion even after the moment of birth. Right. Now Trump is up there creating this narrative. It's they take the baby, they put the baby aside, and then they decide whether or not they're going to kill the baby, and it's like. Yeah. No, nobody does that.
Yeah.
That's not.
And it just gets worse and worse. You said, I mean, I guess Jim Jordan's an upgrade from the previous GOP House speakers. At least he didn't actually commit the sexual assault. He just witnessed it and covered it up. And today's Republican Party, that makes him probably in the top 10% ethically. I mean, except that, as Liz Cheney even pointed out, he wasn't just part of the coup. He was the leader of the coup to overthrow the government. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And I do love that they keep on abiding by this thing they have to call the Hastert rule. Yeah. So it's like let's follow the rule of a guy that raped kids. Let's just do that.
Yeah. And you just, thank you for doing your bulleting on a Monday. You said, hey, TV news host, when a Republican comes on and blames Joe Biden for Hamas attacking Israel, ask them if they also blame Netanyahu. I mean, it's just... I don't know how else to explain it except so fundamentally un-American that they do just not stand with America or our president no matter what. Yeah.
And the other thing is that it also, I mean, it takes away from the complexity of the Palestine-Israel situation,
Yeah.
And it reduces it to just, whatever, stupid talking points about Americans they want to make. And it's like, no, if you don't know what you're talking about, stop talking about it.
Yeah.
And, I will never sit here and pontificate about what I think should happen there. I do know that I can oppose the Likud government and the coalition they have of the most, what the Israeli newspapers say is the most right-wing government in Israel history.
Yeah.
I can sit there and say that's a problem, but I'm not going to sit here and say what the solution is. I can also sit here and say, again, as you said earlier, that massacring a bunch of civilians is really not going to advance your cause.
Yeah. I mean, we just forgot what it means to be an honest broker, to say, Hamas is a terrorist organization and stop building settlements, Netanyahu. I feel like the closest we ever got was under Bill Clinton. But, you're right. It is a incredibly complex and whatever, but we don't have any true Americans on the other side right now, Rude. They just want to fill in the blank, blame Biden. I mean, they just are not interested in what would actually...
They keep bringing up the Abraham Accords, which, okay, yes, was it a step in the right direction? Sure. But who did it leave out of the negotiating process on that? The Palestinians. The Palestinians weren't involved in that.
And also all this crap about, Trump was the best friend to Israel and blah, blah, blah. Someone was talking about, Jared and Mnuchin's last trip to the Middle East. They were putting money in their own pockets. Yeah. They don't give people a break about, they helped with the Middle East peace situation. No, they didn't do, right? I mean,
they were prepping for when they're out of office, and they could make a ton of money off these people.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. It's a grift. It is an ongoing grift, and they don't care how many bodies have to stack up as long as the grift continues.
Yes. Oh, hi. I'm here with sexy liberal John Fugelsang wearing my Los Angeles sexy liberal shirt. Oh my God, we have an LA show coming up October 21st, but how else could you see it, John?
How else could you see it? I'm so glad you asked. For a limited time, you can see the show live via pay-per-view if you go to sexyliberal.com. All the laughs, you'll miss nothing.
I can stream it from all around the world?
All around the world, in your car, while you're driving. Watch it at home.
Sexyliberal.com, yeah.